Hello, and welcome to another episode of Freedom Fridays with Dana Lee. I'm your host. I am a diet recovery coach, and I help women heal. Any woman over 40, usually 40s, 50s, and 60s, we come to an understanding that there's been decades behind us on again, off again with the diet roller coaster, and there's been some fallout from that. So I focus on mostly helping women over 40, not to say there aren't younger women with these same issues with dieting, because there are. So if you're with me live, say hello. Well, thank you. It's funny because so I had someone say, love your hair. It is the longest it's been since I was probably like a teenager. And I do have an appointment on the calendar to cut my hair. I'm gonna have it chopped. I love it long. I do. However, it's very heavy. I have fine hair, but I have a lot of it, so it's heavy. And what happens is when I'm working out, I need to pile it on my head like a bun. And or if I put it up in a ponytail, it pulls my scalp, and I have a headache without when it's I only wear it for an hour or two, and I'm like, oh my God, I can't take it. Anyhow, so thank you for that. So today I want to talk about the things I had to unlearn on my path to healing my food dysfunction. I started a dysfunctional relationship with food when I was like a teenager. I was probably around 15, 16 years old, and I'm 45 now, about to turn 46 in a couple weeks. Next week, I don't know, 2 weeks. So I this is a long time that I had developed patterns and was taught by authorities and people I trusted and looked up to for information. And, I went, as some of you know, my history, I went to school for exercise physiology. I studied this. This is my profession. I've been a fitness pro for nearly 30 years. So that was, there was a lot that I was being taught that was the mainstream school of thought and the what seemed like logical ways of sharing information with people to get healthier, and why the fitness and diet is so important. And the thing was, now looking back in retrospect, and now that this is my area of expertise, or now I help women heal from food dysfunction and all those things that we were taught, is that I know the people teaching me at the time were doing the best they could with the information at hand. So once I started uncovering some of the things I'm going to share with you, I actually have 10 things I'm going to share with you today, things that, I know there's more than 10. There is so much I had to unlearn in my journey. It isn't all about learning. It's about being aware to unlearn. Okay, now I have to reverse this pattern of thought or belief about this thing. It is possible, but it starts with awareness. But anyway, I did go through a period of time where I had a little bit of anger and rage and feeling deceived and feeling almost like a grieving process for this this idea that I was taught false information. I was taught things that were really maybe omitting all of the truth, or were marginalizing people in some way or something. There was so many layers to it. So it was quite like a grieving process for me once I realized there was a lot that was taught to me that was just blatantly false and untrue. And that was hard, I guess you could say, really hard for me to digest. So it took me through a little period of time, because there can be there's this thing called cognitive dissonance. And it's when you find something out that is well, that can't be true, but it's something I've bought into hook, line, and sinker, and I built a career around it. I could have taken the path to double down on it, which I have seen other fitness professionals do. I'm going to double down on the calories in, calories out, and I'm going to double down on the dieting and double down on obesity issues. I did not take that path. Once I started uncovering it and seeing it, as painful as it was to admit, that meant if I was taught by my teachers and then I was a fitness professional and I had run a gym for years, and then I'm disseminating that information and on my YouTube channel, if you're watching me there, hello, if, I'm disseminating information there to the best of my ability, but yet I was really hard on myself for thinking I was perpetuating more of the problem. So over the last 5 years, since I've been working more professionally with women to heal, and I have a course and a whole methodology now, it's like, I just want to keep uncovering these things. I'm human like you, and I'm doing the best that I can. And then when we know better, we do better, like Oprah always says. And which I think she might have quoted from Maya Angelou. But, there are things that I just want to have discussions with you guys in this community about some of these things that may be hard, like hard to digest, hard to admit, hard to take a look at. Because I want you to know that the truth is, it was hard for me to look at too. And I was angry and I was upset and I was hurt and a lot of things. And then once I got through that, that's where the freedom and my ability to find a normal, what I considered a normal relationship with food, a healthy, less compulsive, like where I felt food controlled me. I felt more free around that. That's why I call these episodes Freedom Friday with Dana Lee, because my goal here is to uncover new perspectives for you to look at yourself and look at food and look at how we got to where we are, and for you to find some freedom in that. Okay. Rather than like being so resistant and hating your way through it. Right. It's that you actually can, maybe find a way to find peace and compassion and understanding as to, oh, now I get why this happened in this way. And it brought me to where I am now. So, okay. So before I go any further, I just want to make sure, like, if you're here with me live, please say hello or give me a thumbs up. If you're on the replay, hashtag replay. I always like to see whose eyeballs were on this topic, because, there's a lot I'm going to talk about today, these 10 things, and I want to try to get through them. If I strike a chord with any of them, I can actually do another video specifically on one of the topics that I cover today. Hi, Madeline. Good to see you, which actually what I'm going to do is pull it up on my phone. So that way, if anyone didn't give StreamYard permissions, that's totally fine. I'm going to just pull it up on my phone so I can see my video here, a little backup. Okay, great. All righty. So let's dive in. The 10 things, these are minimal. I mean, like, there are so many other things but I was writing like fire. Like I didn't think too long. I just want you to know, when I pulled this together, I pulled this list together in probably 5 minutes, because I was like, bam, 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 right off the top of like, wow, this was destructive thinking. Wow, this was not helpful behavior. I had to unlearn this. I didn't overanalyze it. Okay. I just like let it fire away of like the top 10 things that hit me the most, that when I was relearning, unlearning, and remapping, it brought me freedom with food faster than maybe if I sat and really thought about this list deeper. Maybe some other things were certainly helpful to unlearn, but these are my top 10. Okay, so the first thing, and I have my notes here, like the good student I always am, right? Because, in order to be a good teacher, I must be a good student. So number one is that self-worth cannot be determined or defined by the number on the scale, or the size of my clothes, or the number in my bank account. So I spent many, many years believing that the number on the scale, whether that was up or down, the size of my clothes, whether I was earning more money or less money or whatever, that number was messed up with worth. Like, because they'll even say, as far as your like income, your net worth, they even say it's even used in that. But self-worth has nothing to do with numbers. So I had to unlearn that connection. I had to break up that connection, get off the scale, stop thinking about like, okay, so sometimes I'm a size 10, sometimes I'm a 12, sometimes I'm an 8, sometimes I'm a 14, sometimes I'm a large, sometimes I'm a medium. And the same thing like bra size. So you think you are a certain bra size. I'm going to tell you right now, follow this woman, Kimay, Caldwell. She goes by Hooray Kimay because Kimay is her first name. She was actually just on the Today Show. So she's a colleague of mine who teaches, and she's a bra fitter, a professional bra fitter. And she has a whole campaign, You're More Than Your Numbers, because you think you're a certain size with your bra. You're not. It's like, depending on the size, the cut, the style, all of that, it all changes. So if you really put a lot of emphasis into your worth being like that number, like whether you have to be bigger, right? Maybe it's more that like it's bigger. So then for me, I got tiny little girls and I'm proud of them. And I love the size of my chest. I've never had an issue with that. But for some women, they feel like they're not worthy unless their boobs are bigger. So I personally had to unlearn and break up with this thought that there's a correlation between my self-worth and these arbitrary numbers. Okay. So number 2, are you guys with me? Do you relate to that? I see I have a few live viewers. Good to see you. And make sure, by the way, that you hit the notification so you know when I go live. I do my Freedom Fridays at 11 a.m. Eastern time on Fridays. So that would be 9 a.m. Pacific. But listen, we all get busy. I send out an email to remind you 15 minutes early. But listen, if you get notification on your phone, then you won't miss one of my videos, and we can interact live. Okay, so number 1's the self-worth thing and breaking up with the scale and the numbers. Number 2 is what I think, feel, and believe play the bigger role in my health than only paying attention to the physical. Okay, so I put so much emphasis on my physical body and the shape, and thinking that, and we're taught this in fitness, right? In fitness, I went to school for exercise physiology. It was all about the physical body. There was no teaching on mental or emotional health when I went to school for exercise physiology. Talk about a disconnect. What the fuck? Like the mind-body connection, like the mind-body, like I've even read it in some areas, the where mind-body is one word. Like you can't even separate like what you're thinking and feeling from the physical. They're absolutely in communication all the time. So I had to unlearn that it was all about the food, all about my hormones, all about the body, all about the metabolism. Like I really thought that was it. That was the focus. That couldn't be farther from the truth. My mental and emotional well-being is, if not plays a bigger role in the results that I'm actually seeing in my health and my physical health and body. So number 3, when I can accept who I am, that I can feel accepted by others. So I used to believe that I had to chase the acceptance of others, and then therefore I could accept myself. So I had to unlearn that. Because that chase is exhausting. Let me know if you relate to it. If you are also a chaser about like people pleasing, like accept me, love me, like me, you know, that part I had backwards. So I had to unlearn that. And I had to focus more on, it's more important that I accept me. And that means I have to get to know me. How can you accept yourself if you are blocking yourself from getting to know the real you, right? So that's also part of it. I didn't add that to my list, but it can also be like another one, I would say, right? I'd have to unlearn that, you know, it's not important if you really get to know yourself, or really show, you know, let yourself show through. So yeah. Madeline says, I always wanted to be liked. You know, that's something that I feel like, especially for women, they go through. No, it's a people thing. People want to be liked. It's because it's in our biology to be part of a tribe and to feel like we belong. So to want to be liked is a real thing. Like that, all of us experience that on some level. Even if you are someone who is like, maybe in high school, I was a little bit of a loner in high school. It's like I was an art student also. So I didn't really click in with a lot of people, but when I was with that group, there was still a certain level of, I want to be liked by the freaks. Oh, now I want to be liked by the cheerleaders. Now I want to be liked by whoever I was with was kind of like this like just an innate need to be liked. And then I just would disconnect from like, well, what is it? What about me liking myself? How about me liking me and accepting me? So that was my number 3. All right. that when I can accept who I am, then others will naturally accept me, or it just doesn't matter that others accept me or not. I'm finally okay with that. Hi, Eileen. Hello. I'm fine with, it's okay if you don't like me. It's okay if oh, she's someone who drops F-bombs all the time and I'm uncomfortable with that and I don't like that. That's okay. I'm totally okay with that. You don't have to like me because I like me. I want to hang out with me. I am very happy being by myself. And that's just, I'm just happy to be able to even say that at this stage of my life, right? Okay, number 4, that exercise is a form of celebration for what my body can do and what I'm able to do, how I can move my body, and it has nothing to do with what I ate. So I had to unlearn my belief about exercise and working out and what that is. I thought it was because the sole reason you exercise is to be able to lose weight or maintain your weight. And that was such a tiny part, yet I blew it up and it took over my life. I had exercise bulimia. So I was exercising 3-4 hours a day sometimes, and then binge eating and then going back and forth between that. So I had a really messed up relationship pitting my workouts against food. And I really had a hard time separating that. So I really saw exercise as a punishment. I was like, well, I ate all these things that I like and I enjoy. Shame on you. Exercise, burn it off. You have to earn your calories. So for me, I had to unlearn this idea of what exercise is and what I was taught in my own profession about obesity and all of this stuff. And that there's so much more benefit to moving your body. And I've gotten to really enjoy that. Wow, I can get into yoga and it has nothing to do with calorie burn. What it does have to do with it has to do with my nervous system and being able to find a way to be comfortable with myself, right? And maybe some flexibility and arm balances and building strength and those things. But it's like movement and hiking, like going hiking and being in nature, so much more than the rock scramble, so much more than that. I truly see exercise and movement as a gift in my life. So number 5. All right, you guys still with me as I take a sip of water? Talking a lot in this one. All right. With me? Are you with me? I see my live viewers. Hello. Okay, so number 5. Where are my control people at? Are you trying to control things? I had a huge, I was always trying to control because I was also a bit of a perfectionist. So it's I wanted things to be manipulated and go in a certain way so I can determine the result from that. And I can count on it. Yes, here. yes. Some other control freaks. Can we call ourselves control freaks? I'm a reformed control freak. I will still have certain tendencies that I find I get attached to an outcome or expectation. And I have to say that is, then I recognize it because it's painful. So I'm okay, where am I attaching? Where am I trying to control things that aren't actually in my control? So, hello. Oh, good. I'm seeing some YouTube comments come through. Very cool. And okay, so number 5, that brings me to that when I let go of trying to control things outside of myself and I focus on what is actually in my control, that is where I find ease around the control. It seems so counterintuitive, but I had to unlearn this idea that trying to control all the things. I'm going to control my diet and I'm going to set this up in my schedule and this is how things are going to work. And I'm going to put this over here and this is organized here. And I'm going to try to control all these things outside of me. And it's an illusion. Because actually what ends up happening, if any of those things fall out or something unexpected happens and it all starts to shit hits the fan and it all blows apart, then you feel out of control. So it's an illusion. It doesn't actually bring you control. So dieting, restricting, getting that calendar, the food plan together, that is an illusion of control. So when you start to go, again, I'm looking inward, looking at where can I accept myself? Where can I take a look at things inside? And then that is actually where I'm like, okay, so I can control what I say. I can control how I respond or react to a certain situation. I can control like those things. I can't necessarily control an event, but I can control how I respond to the event. So when I started looking at it that way, that this is how I feel the most in control of my life, because to me, control isn't even really something that it doesn't really trigger me anymore. I'm like so easeful about it that I'm like more like a go with the flow. Yeah, I'm very ambitious. I have a lot of plans for my business. I have another business I'm working on. So how is that? How could I have that? It's absolutely possible. I can have ease and I can plan and yet not feel that chaos of out of control if something doesn't go according to plan. All right, so moving on. Number 6. Okay, so I had to unlearn. So it's not all about the food. Food behaviors are the symptom for the ways I'm neglecting myself. I really need something else, but I'm so shut off to addressing my needs that it's easier for me to go to food behaviors. So I had to unlearn, I would always try to go to, let me manipulate the food behavior. If I could just stop binging, if I could just stop nighttime snacking, if I could just stop this mindless eating, let me focus on that. And instead, so I had to unlearn that's not really ever going to be the answer. Hence why I help women heal from decades of dieting damage. It takes over and over and over going through a new diet. And I'm going to try this new diet. And then I'm going to try this new diet. And I'm going to try this new diet. And yet always the outcome is the same because there's an underlying need that is not being met. And when you can address the need, the symptom of the food behavior goes away. I can literally I'm going to add this one. This is a bonus. This is would be my number 11, I guess, is that this idea, I'm addicted, sugar addiction, or I'm addicted to sugar or something. I had to unlearn that too, because how is it then? If I had, if sugar is addicting or whatever, how is it I could possibly take a bite of a cookie and leave it now? And not even think and just be like, that's good. I'm good with that. I'm good with that. So I had to unlearn that. I had to push the boundaries of what if I'm being told sugar has its grips on you. Sugar is evil. You have no control. The sugar has control over you. Well, I'm here to tell you that how is it for years I've been living this way, where I can have a bite of a cookie and not have an interest in finishing the cookie. It's possible because it's not really about the food. Okay. I found ways that I was neglecting myself. I wasn't nourishing my soul in certain ways and asking for what I really needed, using my voice and finding boundaries. And that is where the side effects of the food, normalizing food, just sort of fell into place. I became less interested in filling up that void with food because I was filling the void with the things that I really wanted to fill the void with. All right. So excellent. Yeah. So Madeline says, yep, makes sense. Exactly. I'm addressing the need more and more. Yay, I know. Well, Madeline's one of my clients, so we're working on this, right? It's a practice. It's certainly a practice, especially if you've been dealing with it for years. And it's we can't just think that it's going to be gone like that. We're going to be constantly up against challenges and uncomfortable things in our lives that will put us in that position of opportunity to choose different, right? Okay, so number 7, I had to unlearn about dieting. Dieting is a trap. It's designed to keep us constantly in the failing loop. And I had to, again, I started this video by sharing that I was really angry at a lot of institutions and a lot of things along the way. And I just started to see the corporate part of the building of this billion-dollar industry. If we are succeeding on diets, then a lot of companies are going to go out of business, and it affects the healthcare system and all of that. So I had to see it for what it was, right? I had to unlearn and just realize, like, oh, diets, I'm not a failure. Diets are designed to fail us. They're designed to fail us. And I will say this, okay? I'm not going to mention any names, but there is a few major, like they have huge followings, hundreds of thousands of followers, and they had led certain diet camps for a few years, right? Paleo, keto, whatever it was. Now I am seeing that when you go to their Instagram profile, you see that they're now anti-diet. So that's interesting. So isn't it frustrating to be like thinking, oh my God, keto's the answer. This is the answer. And yet there's all these individual people who are like, it works until it doesn't work. So it's like their health is great, and then it starts to deteriorate or it's failing in some way. And it's like, but so they're thinking they're the failure. You're not the failure. Any diet restraint like that is designed to fail you. You are not the failure. It's failing you by design. By design. If it keeps you in the problem, then you will keep shelling out the money. So I'm empowering my people. Keep the money in your bank. Stop shelling out the money to this problem that's like a constructed problem, right? Yes. Okay. So that brings me to, you could tell I'm pretty passionate about that. So that brings me to number 8, that food habits alone are not the sole responsibility for how I see my body. So it kind of goes back to that. I just would put so much emphasis on like that external and the perception of it's Wayne Dyer said, if you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. I love that quote. If you change the way you look at things, the things you look at change. So perhaps there's nothing wrong with your body. Perhaps there's a filter. There's some sort of like, there's glasses that you're putting on and you're seeing things as they're wrong, they're bad, ugly, broken, not good enough, all of that. So what if the food part is not part of fixing that, right? Okay, that brings me to number 9. We're almost there, kids. We're almost there. I try to keep these within a half an hour. I'm getting to the ding, ding, ding. Time is up. Because I do respect your time, and I really, I'm grateful to have your eyeballs in this conversation and your thoughts and your feelings in this conversation. It matters to me. Okay. So a device or tracker is not wiser than me. I put so much emphasis on like my tracker telling me, you have to burn more calories today. You have to walk more today. You have to drink more water. You have to sleep. You have to. That was a major wedge between me trusting myself, because I would look at that tracker as if that tracker knew more about what I needed. So again, I'm going to go back to, didn't I just share the food behaviors because we're like neglecting ourselves and what we really need? So then I'm just going to go to a tracker and a device to tell me what I need. There's a major disconnect when I was connected like that. All right. When I was connected to my device. So I had to just like break up with my scale and break up with this idea of the size of my clothes. I had to break up with my device, and I've never put it back on. That day, 7+ years ago, where I said, fuck this dieting bullshit. I hate hating myself. Something's got to stop. I took my tracker off and I never put it back on. And it's been one of the most freeing decisions, because I've learned what it took to trust myself. I'm wise. What if I'm wise? What if you're wise? What if you're wiser than you give yourself credit for? What if? Yeah, it's a great question to journal on. Yeah, so this brings me to 10. Number 10 is that I had to unlearn that I could do it all myself. I took so much pride in my family, even like how I'm the middle child, but like there's something in that upbringing of like independence. I'm a strong woman, put myself through college, built a business. I could do all this on my own. not really on my own. I have a very loving and supportive husband. We just celebrated our 16th wedding anniversary, but I had to unlearn this idea that it's all on me. Like all of it is no, because the way we are in humanity is like together in community, in tribe, in bonding, in realizing there's like validation. Oh, you feel that way, I feel that way too, and having a conversation about those things. So I have now at this point, and even for me, even though I've healed my relationship with food and it's been normal, and obviously that's why I talk on this now. For me, it's moved into now my business and my business growth and things like that. So then that is really another lesson in, Dana, stop trying to do all the things yourself. Delegate. I have a wonderful assistant, Anita. She's so helpful. And she is so like, Dana, just tell me what you need. And she's like great at following, like, okay, step by step, I need you to do this and this and this. And she's like happy to support me. It's my issues with thinking I can do it all myself. So that wasn't any different from when I had my food behaviors and trying to heal my relationship with food. So I had to unlearn that. I had to really lean into getting support. And I've talked to many people how you have therapists. Therapists are amazing. If you work with me in my mentorship, we have not only the therapist, but then our community of women where we can get together and we can start to unlearn these behaviors, like together as a group. It's really powerful. So this leads me with, I'd like to end our this episode of Freedom Fridays with Dana Lee with an invitation to my virtual dinner party. It's a free event. I have nothing to sell in this event. I want the community to come together, and I want us to connect on these things about emotional eating, dysfunctional eating, ways that like maybe you have wanted to talk about these things, but haven't felt safe in a safe way to have a conversation. You're not going to heal by yourself behind the computer just typing comments. It's going to delay your healing. There has to be human connection, conversation, meaningful exchange to understand. That has to be part of it. I was very proud and independent and just stubborn for a really long time. And that is something that I just had to unlearn to realize, like, wow, other people really want to help. They want to step in and help. So I'm kind of robbing them of that ability if I just keep on with my independence, right? So what I will do is I'm going to just flip over here. I'm going to throw, now if you're watching on YouTube, I already added the RSV to my virtual dinner party in the description on YouTube. So all I'm going to do over here is throw it into, I might have to do it. I didn't turn my, there we go. Okay. I just don't want my volume to like it starts to echo and you get that feedback and hate that. Okay. So I'm going to click onto this video and throw the comment in here. Okay. So this is the RSVP form for my virtual dinner party. And what I do want to say is that although I have a couple dates on the calendar, I have to start somewhere, you guys. So please, if you're interested and you're like, oh, this is different, this is something that might be fun. It is actually not eating, even though we're on the topic of emotional eating and healing food dysfunction. We're not actually going to be eating together, although I think that would be kind of fun. But I do think that it's powerful in a dinner party how we have conversation and meaningful connection. So that's what we're going to get together. It's going to be on Zoom. We get into little breakout rooms, everything. So that's private. It's between maybe, one or two other people. You get to talk about things and unpack them, and you all relate on the same thing. It's really safe. And it is, I promise you, it's going to be of value in your healing journey. And that's why I want to bring it to this community. So I have a couple dates on the calendar, but I would love, love, love to get your feedback as to when I can offer at other times or other days. And, I understand not only people's schedules, but also different time zones. I mean, I have clients from the other side of the world, so I totally get it. You're 5 or 6 hours ahead of me or whatever. I'm on the East Coast. So I do want to figure out different options reasons for holding these in the future. But this is going to be a way for you to unlearn that last part. You don't have to do it alone. It's not meant for you to do alone. The healing process is actually, there's so much to be said in the bonding and connection with others, so you can actually break through and move on from the problem. Okay, so that's the Freedom Friday for this Friday. The 10 things that I had to unlearn in my path to healing my relationship with food and healing food dysfunction. So I hope this was of value to you today. I hope it helped you open your eyes and maybe feel like a little normal about some things. Like, yeah, I always felt like this didn't really work. This didn't really sit well with me, but I couldn't quite put my finger on it. I would love to hear that from you. I would also love to hear if there's some things you've recognized that you've had to unlearn in your scope of, when I say you heal your relationship with food, what happens is you're really healing your relationship with yourself. That's the journey. That's really what we're doing. The food part is the side effect of it. Okay. So if there is something that you've come to understand that's like, oh, wow, I had to like totally repattern this. I had to uncover that. Please share it, not just share it on this video, but maybe even in, if something comes to you in a more, there's a bigger thought process about it and you want to share it in the Life Beyond Dieting Facebook group. It's so that way, not only I get to read it, but the other ladies in the group get to read it. Anything profound you can share about your own experience of what you've had to unlearn over the years would be so awesome. So awesome. Don't keep it to yourself. Share it. Okay. As you can see, I don't keep much to myself. I share a lot with you guys and I'm happy to. All right. Thank you so much for tuning in today. I appreciate you so much. And where you are on your journey, wherever you are is exactly where you need to be. Okay. There's nowhere else you should be. You're exactly where you need to be. Take a nice deep breath, settle into that. It's all good. And I'm really happy that we connected and we can continue the conversation from here. I hope to see you in one of my virtual dinner parties. Okay. Have a wonderful rest of the day and I'll see you on the next one.